Welcome back to the Hoops Temple Podcast. Y'all know me, Nathan Schwartz. Joining me from Sacramento, Aaron Schroeder.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too. We're back to revisit our top 100. We have another season in the books. We want to re-rank some players. We want to just talk about some things. Also, if you didn't listen to us both rank players by position or rank players 1 to 100 initially over Hanukkah, welcome. We're going to kind of go straight through the list, talk about it, make sure that we feel comfortable with it. So just want to start things off. Number 1, we had Michael Jordan. Number 2, we had LeBron James. Do we feel a need to make any switch based on the last season?
I think I'm okay still. I'm okay. I'm a
Still,
big Jordan guy. We've still been rocking hard there. But do you feel like we should make any change?
no, I think we did it right the first time around. I think Jordan has a higher peak. LeBron has greater longevity. I think I care more about that peak. So I'm comfortable with it. At number 3, we have Kareem, followed by Bill Russell, followed by Tim Duncan. Kind of going for career longevity and true winners. Any desire to make any changes here?
I really thought about making Duncan the 4 spot. As big into Bill Russell as we've been, I thought about it. I ended up not going there, but I thought about it. I haven't really made a change up until a new nomination to that top 25-ish. Did you make any changes in our top 20?
I did not make any changes in our top 20. Although I did think about it near the back half, that 18, 19, 20-ish range.
Okay. Do you want to run through the guys up until that possible change? We can talk about it.
Yeah. So the probably most controversial section of any of these lists is that kind of 5 through 13 range. And in that order, we went with Shaquille O'Neal, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Steph Curry, Wilt Chamberlain, Julius Erving, and then Hakeem Olajuwon. And I just want to take a second to talk about Julius over Hakeem, because that one got some pushback. Is there anything you want to say on that first?
It did get some pushback, but I think it's just I've been there. You start getting to basketball, you learn about Hakeem's 2 runs, and you're like, this is the greatest thing on earth. I have a list I made when I was like 15, and of course Hakeem's like the 6th best player ever. Because you
Hmm.
milk those runs, you think just the help came, and then he was good. They were good enough to win a championship. But Hakeem totally changes as a player in those 2 runs. But prior to that, he has this entire section where he isn't that insane best player in the league kind of talent, or even like maybe top 5-ish, but he has these playoff series where he's giving you 30, but it's with 1 assist a game. Or he's giving you assists, but he's not scoring as much. But he really puts it together in those 2 years. Prior to that, it isn't that consistently great level. Where I think Dr. J from ABA up until the mid '80s or the early '80s was just incredible.
Yeah. And looking at who he had to play in the ABA, he had to play real talent and real players. He goes up against Artis Gilmore in playoff series. He goes up against Gervin. He goes up against David Thompson. He goes up against a lot of guys who had NBA success
All at
and had
once,
deeper
all at once,
teams.
all at
Yeah,
once. That the '76 finals is Thompson, Issel, and Gilmore, if I remember correctly. They're all in the '76 Nuggets. Is that
I
correct?
believe so.
Or is it just 2 of them?
Gilmore might have jumped earlier,
Yeah,
but
he
he
might have jumped.
he went through some crazy teams that put 4 or 5 guys to the NBA and put 4 or 5 guys into All-Star games in NBA. Like
Yeah.
Julius Irving, that's probably a bit hyperbolic. I don't think they had 3 or 4 guys, but he went through really good, really solid teams where you look at the players and you're like, these guys could play in the NBA. These guys did play in the NBA. Saying that just because he's in the ABA, these things shouldn't count when the leagues, had the buyout, the merger. Um, it doesn't sit well with me. I like having him over Hakeem. I think he has more prolonged success and greatness than Hakeem showed. And that brings us down to number 14, which is Kevin Durant. Durant
I,
knocking on the door, building super teams.
he always building super teams. The '76 Nuggets. It wasn't Gilmore. It was Bobby Jones. So it's Thompson, Issel,
Mm,
Bobby Jones, Willie Wise, and Matt Calvin are also on that team, just for
that's
fun.
insane.
Um, just an incredible run for back really quickly on Dr. J. He is good enough in the NBA to make the '77 finals. He's still probably the best player, maybe second behind Walton in 1977. They make the 80 finals, they make the 82 finals, and the 83 Sixers were like the 5 best teams ever to walk this earth. The contributions to winning are just much better.
Absolutely.
I really wanted KD to have an awesome season, and I think KD's fucking awesome, and I was ready to push him up into the top, like make the argument that he should be 12th ahead of Dr. J, right behind Will. And then
I
this season wasn't that cool. He didn't play, and he played at a high level, but he didn't play in a single important game until the playoffs. He played in all of his games were like in October and November. Then he was just hurt the rest of the year, and he was good in the playoffs, not fantastic, and I'm left right where I started.
I remember you coming on the pod after he'd gotten traded to Phoenix and they had like won their first, I don't know how many games he played before getting hurt, but it was like almost the day before he gets hurt. And you were like, I'm coming back this offseason. I'm gonna make the case for him to be top 10. And then he instantly gets hurt that next game, doesn't play pretty much to the end of the regular season. I do think he had a really great playoffs. Like the sheer volume and numbers of what he was putting up is awesome. But to move into that top 13,
Takes a lot to shuffle the list around, especially because I do see that gap from Hakeem to Durant.
yeah,
Just in terms of like best player on awesome teams, the KD was probably the best player on the Warriors, but it isn't hit the same. It doesn't hit the same. It's
no.
not as difficult, but
All right,
okay.
so continuing down, after KD, we have Oscar Robertson at 15, Jerry West at 16, George Mikan at 17. How do you feel about Mike's at 17 still?
I feel fantastic. I've made videos defending that, and it gets me excited every time. Um, he's just I think just relative to era. If era didn't matter, you're just like whatever. Who is the best compared to their competition? Mikan is just so far ahead of everybody. He forces professional basketball as like a thing to be like, oh my god, like I didn't like let's get out of goaltending, and by the way, let's widen the lane and add a shot clock because there's just one guy making basketball what it is today because he's so good at it.
Let's desegregate the league. I mean, that deserves some props. The Knicks owner was just like, "Fuck it, we can't compete with this guy. We need to sign
That's
the Harlem
insane.
Globetrotters."
That's insane. They're just like this guy's too good. We need to sign black people.
Yeah,
that's
let
that's just ridiculous. That's ridiculous, but
I mean, this is segregation still exists, is still legal at the time. The league chooses to desegregate because they want to compete with him. Like, I'm not going to give 50s people that much credit for not being racist.
they were
Um,
very racist,
they're
incredibly
very
racist.
racist. But I think that says something that this guy is so dominant that you have to like fight some racism here and be like, all right, I guess we're gonna sign black players now because we want to compete. Like, you're a racist era of
He
time and
made
not
they made racist unracist for just a moment. He was so good at basketball. He
yeah.
defeated racism. Um, yeah, I feel good about that, and I love Oscar at 15 and Wes is 16 feels right. Feels like everything's really sorted out. Kind of turns into a mess though after that.
I think we've got one more safe pick, which is Moses Malone.
Feel good
Went
about
at
that.
18. You know, three straight MVPs.
Ooh, not
Arguably
3
won
straight,
a
2 straight. But
two
is
straight?
it 3 in 4 years though?
It might be 3 and 4 years.
Yeah. I think it's 80, 82, 83.
Still. Still just an insane run of highly competitive basketball. Well, they're from and the two finals appearances. Two? Three? What am I thinking here?
2, but we did talk about that. We talked about that how he isn't higher despite having such a high peak because that's it. That truly is it. If he's not winning
Mhm.
MVP, it's not that good of a season, and if he doesn't make the finals those 2 years, there really isn't another Moses Malone run where you're like, "God damn, that was good." It's the 3 seasons and the 2 runs, and that's it.
So then here's where we start to get things a little bit squirrely, and I wanted to talk to you about it. We have Carl Malone at 19, Dirk at 20, and Giannis at 21.
Mhm.
And I think if we look at them from a longevity perspective, from a full career accomplishment, and maybe not accomplishments isn't the best word because two of them have rings and one of them doesn't, but just full career. Who maintained this the longest? Who played at the highest level the longest? Carl Malone definitely has it.
Mhm.
I think if we ask who did the most impressive thing, which I think is winning a title as the lead guy in your prime, you know, minimal assistance or least amount of assistance, I would say that's Giannis. I like Dirk is kind of splitting the difference. He's got an
Mhm.
amazing length and you know the not brevity, the opposite of brevity. He's got a really great long career, and he still wins a title. It's very impressive. He also has a very stacked team, lots of good role players around him. Um, are you still happy with 19, 20, 21, or do you have any desire to flip this around?
I am happy with it. I think we did a good job.
Okay.
I think Karl Malone should be 19 over the off season, which is now. But what I want to do, and I text you about this, and making a top 10 every season.
Hmm.
And we're gonna be like floored when we get to like, man, Karl Malone was one of the 10 best players, one of the 5 best players in the league for just so long. For so long. As much as we hate him, as much as he's like a despicable person, he just has that.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't think Dirk has that kind of even with the ring, even with the MVP, he doesn't have that kind of pulling power. And Giannis has the ability to pass both of them, but it's 7 seasons. It's just 7 seasons. So
I
I feel good about it.
I so wish Giannis could have taken the team back to the finals this year. I would have felt much stronger had he
Yeah,
had
it
a
was a
strong playoff
bad play.
performance.
It was a bad playoff series too.
Yeah. It's hard to come out here and be like, "Listen, Giannis needs to be number 19
Like
after
after
losing
that,
the first round."
it was
Like,
really one of the strangest things I've ever watched live at basketball. Was him in against the Heat. And it's like he didn't wanna touch the basketball, and he was injured, his back was hurt, but it
yeah,
wasn't like he was out there. His stats were crazy, but the free throws were just terrible, and he almost hot potatoed the game away at the end, and
yeah.
yeah.
But just to speak to your Karl Malone top 10, using MVP votes as a proxy, because it's a decent proxy. It's who had the best regular seasons. In 88, he is eighth. Then third, fourth, fifth, fourth, eighth, seventh, third, seventh, first, second, first, fourth, seventh. That is, I don't know how many years this is. Is 88th to 2001.
He has more top 5 finishes in MVP than Dirk and KG combined. Isn't that correct?
Yeah. And Dirk has quite a few. Dirk,
Yeah, it's not enough. It's not that I mean, KG doesn't have that many. It's a little bit cheating, but KG won an MVP. I think he's second in the year prior, 2003,
hmm
and then Dirk has '07 and some other seasons.
he's third in '05 and '06. I've got it up in front of me now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought it was worth discussing in that because, I could be talked into it.
Tucked into what?
I could be talked into moving Giannis over them or trying to figure out a way to reorder them. I think we were a little bit brash when we just declared Karl Malone easily the best.
Yeah,
Um,
but he is. But he is. Come on.
yeah,
Yeah, he is.
yeah,
Like the Jazz win like 60% of their games over 20 years, and even at the end, like in 2002, there's like way beyond where we even think Carmelo and John Stockton are even good anymore. They're still playing at a high level.
but doesn't that just argue then for the coach? Shouldn't we just make Jerry Sloan the fifth best coach of all
Are we
time?
ever going to do coaches?
No, coaching is such a subjective, arbitrary thing that,
That is.
like, I mean, players are
It is.
subjective and arbitrary, but they put points on the board.
Yeah,
What are we gonna like?
it's
We can't
vibes. At
chart.
that point, it's just what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we can be like, all right, hey, 60% of this guy's after timeout plays worked, and this guy,
Yeah,
when they ran set, like, no, there's no metrics to compare by. We just go by rings. Phil Jackson, Red Auerbach, Greg Popovich, Pat Riley, top four, lock them in any way you want. We
Pat
can put,
Riley.
yeah, yeah, Riles.
Wonder how I did that. I did a while ago. I did like a series on the top coaches. Let me find. I didn't
I
do
think,
that. It was I like eliminated because remember how the NBA did like the top
yes,
coaches, and I went through it. I'm sure I made a playlist.
yeah. I think,
There it is.
like,
NBA
what, you
coaches.
bumped out Lenny Wilkins first and then Doc Rivers second.
Oh, I doubt I did. He was fourth. The last four. Oh, geez. I think I had Larry Brown. I think I had Larry Brown fourth.
Oh God, no.
No, he's a great coach. He coached for like 19,000
No.
years.
Larry Brown only coaches one way. It's trade away all of your players in the first 2 years to get an offensive score first point guard and a defensive big man. And if you get that, he will run the same system that he runs at every stop. And if they're good enough, like Chauncey Billups and Ben Wallace, they win.
Oh
And if
no,
they're
sorry.
not good enough, they
Yeah,
lose.
I had Pat Riley was fourth. He was
As
fourth.
he should be.
Yeah, he
And
was.
he's
I
definitely
did.
4 out of those guys.
Yeah, he was 4, and then I did Auerbach, Popovich, and Phil Jackson.
But all
Larry,
right.
do you know Larry really quickly, just because it's fun? Let me look this up. Coaching. Larry Brown's coaching, and it's why it's so awesome. Is he first coaches the 1973. Oh man, the Carolina somethings. Let me check.
The Cougars.
Carolina Cougars at age 32,
Mhm.
and they're good. They're a really good team. Then he's the coach of the Denver Nuggets of the ABA for the 76 team we were talking about, even the 75 team that won 65 games. Then he's like the early 80s Nets coach who makes the playoffs with them. Then he's the Spurs coach in the late 80s, makes the playoffs with them. He takes the Clippers to the playoffs. He takes the mid 90s Pacers to the playoffs. He takes the Sixers to the finals. He wins a title with the Pistons. He coaches the 2011 Bobcats at age 70. I mean, it's just there isn't a team that Larry Brown couldn't coach.
I think he's still coaching in college, or he coached in college a little bit after that.
No way.
Yeah.
He's not still coaching in college. He's like 85.
If you
He's
think
80.
that's a wild coaching
No,
history,
he's currently an assistant in Memphis. God
yeah.
damn, he's old.
So, I've been going back trying to read through old NBA history, which I promise we'll get back to talking top 100. We're about to have a change. But I've been reading old NBA history, and it's just wild, like how World War II focused everyone is. Like a lot of these guys are ex-military, and the Bullets get off to this 9-14 start, and they fire their coach, and they're like, "Fuck, we need to get someone in there to replace him." And so they put an interim coach, Bella Smalley, who had been their like leading scorer. He's a player coach at this point, and they're like, "This is a short-term solution because we fired our coach in December, and Bellis is getting called back to the army in January. So we got to figure out a new leading scorer and a new guy to coach the team as soon as he gets pulled back to being captain in the army." You're muted.
Good times in NBA history for sure.
Good times. But all right, so if Giannis is still 21, this is where I'm interested in Jokic is 22. I think you went ahead and called him 23. Currently at 22 and 23, we have Kevin Garnett and Bob Pettit.
Do we?
Garnett was 22.
We did. Yeah, we did.
Pettit
Sorry.
was
Yeah,
23.
no, you're true. That's right. I had Jokic behind KG. I'll give me one more season, Nate. Give me one more year. KG was so good for so long, an impactful defender until he was like in his mid 30s, someone who was MVP of the league, who was able to win a championship, and it's a full career. It just is, and Jokic is just 5 seasons.
5 seasons, but 2 MVPs, and leading a team to the title as the undisputed number 1 guy.
Yeah, Jamal Murray was still really good though.
Jamal Murray was really
He's
good.
really good. He was. I mean, what was his? He averaged 10 assists in the finals, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they both averaged like 30 and 10.
So I'm not gonna. I just can't go there quite. I mean, are you okay not going there?
I think I am. In the same way that we don't quite have Giannis over Dirk just yet.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. We can put him in at 23, and that will then shift down everyone else that we've got ranked. So
Yeah.
this can be a mess to try to read.
It will be. I have it all in a nice Google Doc that isn't that hard, and I have the old one pulled up as well. Because when I went to start making edits, I made a copy.
Oh, that's smart.
I think I love it. This is just an insane Jokic season, and the way he played made me really appreciate that style of basketball where he doesn't take all the shots.
Yeah.
Maybe he's not your closer, but he gets everyone such good looks, and he's also such a kick-ass rebounder. Where his defensive issues, like maybe he's not the best rim protector, don't really matter because he ends possessions so well. He gets the 20th rebound, and that's important on defense. Um, he's a three-level scorer from everywhere, and he ripped apart the league. I mean, the Nuggets lost 4 games the entire playoff run. It never felt like much of a challenge. No one was close to them. No one was, and the competition was good too. I know people are like they played an 8 seed and a blah 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 and a 7 seed, another 8 seed. Those were the best teams left.
Yeah. I mean, I would have loved to have seen them go up against Miami, or not Miami,
Boston,
Milwaukee.
yeah.
You know, I want
You
the
would have
full
liked
health
it, yeah, yeah.
pitch versus Giannis. I also would have loved to see them go up against Golden State because that's been a unique challenge for them as chasing around all those small guards. But ultimately, those teams weren't able to get there, and the teams that beat them lost to
Yeah,
Denver.
they lost to Denver, and um, I know I just gave Jamal Murray some praise, not to go too far with the by himself narrative, but Murray wasn't an all-star, and the Nuggets still had a fantastic record, and they still were the 1 seed.
Hmm.
And what I love most about Jokic is the demeanor and his ability not to be phased. I've never been like, man, Jokic is just in his head right now, or like he's just not seeing it. He gets to his spots, he makes his passes on his time. The defense is just kind of there. I don't know if you ask Jokic who'd you play in the finals, it might take him a second to be like, what was that team called? Because it just doesn't see people. Nothing bothers him.
He would probably say like the Suns and be like, "Oh no, that was second round. I don't know. I play people and I win. Move move forward." Did you ever play the game NFL Blitz? It's an old video game where you had to go 30 yards for a first down, but like
I've
you could
heard of
just
it. It's
continuously beat up on guys after the
yeah,
play.
yeah. I've seen that. I've never played it. Not
There was a hockey version called NFL Hit or NHL Hits, and it had a characteristic if you go to build a player called Butterfly, and it was for your goalie, and it was basically how quickly they could dive for a puck and then get back up and like get low, get up, get low, get up. I think that's something that Jokic does incredibly well that doesn't get talked about as much. Is when he jumps for a rebound, he goes up, he comes down, he goes back up, he comes down. Like part of it's he's not getting up that high, but I mean, I grew up watching Arvydas Sabonis try to defend Shaq, and like you couldn't stick toilet paper under that shoe, but he also wasn't getting back up.
That's true. He's got the Marvin Bagley double jump that Vlade likes so much.
Yeah,
You
Jokic,
know what I'm talking
just
about?
Marvin Bagley, but slightly better.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
In the in
But
the
you just
in the
compared a two-time MVP world champion to Marvin Bagley.
in the pre-draft process before we made the greatest draft mistake of all time, taking Marvin Bagley over Luka Doncic. I believe reports came out that we really liked Bagley's ability to jump and then try for rebound, and then jump again. So he was such a good like offensive rebounder. So it's basically what you're describing. Except for Bagley sucks at every. He's horrible. He sucks at every part of the game. I won't get too distracted though. Unbelievable Jokic run. It cements him on this trajectory to top 15 land, maybe top 10 land. I think if I had to invest in who's going to be better at the end of their careers, who do we regard as the better player, Jokic or Giannis? I'm taking Jokic. I think the way Giannis plays the game, way he attacks the rim, is something that is awesome when you're 25 and 26 and 27. But I don't know what Giannis is going to be when he's 33. Where it's like Jokic is going to be good until he's like 45. Maybe he blows his knee out and misses the whole season. What is he? Is he going to get slower? Okay, it's
There's a
fine.
chance he can't support his weight
All
anymore.
right.
There's a chance that he just wants to go deal with his horses. I mean, the
Yeah,
guy didn't want to stick around for the parade,
yeah.
which I'm not
But can
gonna.
you picture his game getting worse?
No, I'm also not
No.
gonna pick on him for not wanting to stick around for the parade. I thought that was an amazing moment. I thought that was hilarious. And then
I
him
agree.
at the parade being like, "I just want to parade forever." Like, hell yeah. Hell yeah, you do.
All right, so locking him in. Jokic previously at 49 and now at 23.
After Jokic, we have Bob Pettit, Dwayne Wade, Elgin Baylor, James Harden. Any chance you want to move Harden up or down after the season?
I do want to move Harden down.
Whoa.
Down which way? Which way? When you say up or down, what do you mean?
Up, I meant the positive, the
Yeah.
affirmative, getting him closer to number one. Down,
Down
I
is
would
away. I
assume.
want to move him down. One
Whoa.
spot behind Barkley.
Okay, behind Barkley?
I do. We had
What's your
Barkley
case?
right behind him. Now at 27 because Jokic is there, but he was previously 20. Well, I guess 27 either way. But Harden, as good as he's been, as awesome as he's been, you run into the issue. Whatever he's doing isn't as good in the playoffs every time. It just doesn't translate. That style of basketball, the way he's playing, isn't as good when the games matter. And he was horrible this year. Again, just he had an awesome game one, and that was it. And he was gone for game 7, just nowhere to be found. And I'm sick of it, and I'm tired of it. And Barkley didn't have that problem. Barkley was fucking awesome and took the Suns to the finals, and didn't have. If you go through Barkley's playoff performances, go through his playoff series stats, he just doesn't have those series where it's like, oh my god, what happened here? It's just he just plays how he did in the regular season. He's about as good. And I think in
So I
'93
want
he
to.
was almost as good as Michael Jordan, which is fucking crazy.
I do want to push back a little bit because Harden did have a couple of good games, and Barkley has some faults. He has some failures. Whereas if we look at um, that '95 run, game game what is this? Game 3 against Houston, 5 points, 0 for 10 from the field. I'm I'm just saying, it's real easy to remember all of Harden's flaws right now, freshly after they happened. Um, but it's not like any of these guys are perfect. All of these guys have those bad games. We can go game by game through it and find them. I'm not too upset by it. I do think that with Harden, yes, it is more regular season based successes, but MVP and then 3 other second place finishes. We we could be living in a world with multiple Harden MVPs.
Yeah, but we're not.
We're not.
But we're not.
That's fair.
We could be living in that world, but we're not. Just bringing up some numbers real quick because it's fun. Um, yeah, I think Barkley's efficiency, or basically, it goes from 54% shooting to 51% shooting, where Harden's goes from 44 to 42. And it's like already kind
Which
of
is
interesting
worse.
efficiency, which is the drop off isn't as harsh, but it's also like 42% shooting.
Yeah.
And let me ask you something, Nate. If Harden isn't scoring efficiency, what is he doing?
He's passing the ball.
Okay. I can get anyone to do that. Let me go find Ish Smith. He'll pass the ball for me.
Can you get anyone to pass the ball?
You can't, but at the same time, I just feel like, I mean, where are you at this in terms of Barkley from 86 to 99 in the playoffs was 24 points, 13 boards, 4 assists, a steal and a half, almost a block on 51% shooting. He was incredible. He just was, and I don't see that from Harden, where Harden since 2013, 26 points, 7.5 assists, 6 boards on 42% shooting, 33% from deep. He's not the offensive scoring weapon. The volume's fucking nuts, but the actual scoring isn't that great.
Yeah. Well, the big thing.
It's just one spot I'm looking for. I'm not trying to drag Harden into the depths of the 30s or something, but I like how Barkley's game translates to the playoffs. And that's really the bottom line.
I think the biggest thing of why his game doesn't translate as well to the playoffs for James Harden is the lack of free throws. And the free throw was harder to come by. And so much of his game is predicated on getting to the line. That's what I was trying to pull up here to see what those actual free throw averages are from 13 till We're just going to go to his last Houston stint. He's averaging 10.4 free throws per game in the regular season. And that OKC year, it's his last year in Houston in the playoffs, that drops down to 8.8, which is not a sizable, but it's free throw and a half a game. And like those are bread and butter. Those are easy points. He's shooting almost 90% in on those. So
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Thank you. I
I
appreciate
don't
it.
love it,
I
but
love it. I like Charles Barkley.
all right, that's fine. What about the man then we have up next at 29? We had Chris Paul.
I feel fine about that. I don't feel the need to move him anywhere. Do you?
No, no,
Okay.
I don't have any moves for a little bit.
I have a move.
You have a move, okay?
I do have a move. I'd like to formally request a nomination of Bob Cousy from 32 to 30, passing
That,
up Scottie Pippen and John Havlicek.
okay. I'm thinking about it because Kuzi does have more of the peak player in him
Mm-hmm.
than Pippen or Barry. But
Not Rick Barry. Havlicek. Havlicek was 31 or Kuzi was behind Havlicek and Pippen. I'd like to move that. Rick Barry is still behind all of these guys.
we have Rick Barry at 31.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do.
No,
I have the list right here.
I have
Where
the
do you
better list.
where do you have Rick Barry listed?
And I do have Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Rick Barry was 31, but I'm looking at what the list would look like, in which he'd be 33. But even with that, it was Havlicek 29, Pippen 30, Barry 31, Kuzi was 32. Okay, sorry. In my head, it was 2 spots up. It's actually 3 spots up.
So Kuzi never gets an official MVP
That's not true.
or no, he gets the 57 one.
Gets the 57 one.
I was thinking about the Sam Davis Memorial one, and my sentence was going to be he never gets an official one, but he has an unofficial one from the year prior or before they introduced MVPs. So we could be looking at a 2-time MVP here. Best player on the Celtics pre-Russell. And, arguably, Russell does miss a large chunk of their first title run together. That is in part why Kuzi wins MVP over him in 57. Leads playoffs on scoring 3 times. I don't hate it.
Yeah, he leads the playoffs in assists.
Yeah, he leads the playoffs in assists a ton.
9 times. 9 times, and you're looking at his efficiency is awful. He's shooting. He's missing a ton of shots. I guess my retort to that is he's not shooting a billion times, and the pace is really high. So it's not like crazy impactful. It's not like Bob Cousy is running Harden's system or a Westbrook system where it's like, hey, Bob Cousy has the ball all the time. But he's good for, from 57 to 63, they win the championship every year except for one. He's 17 points and 9 assists, and he's shooting just 33% from the field. That's not great, but what I really like about it is the playmaking, the fast breaks. That's what Boston was. It is running these fast breaks, and the way he played with Russell made both of them so great that they just won at just an absurd rate. Where I feel like even with Havlicek, his relationship with Russell wasn't as great.
Can I offer you this?
Mm-hmm.
We can put Kuzi up there at 30.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to keep Pippen right behind him and have Pippen jump Havlicek.
Give me the case. I just made a Havlicek video, so I'm kind of into Havlicek, but I'm curious what you have to say.
So shout out young new TikToker with like less than 400 followers. Gosh, wish I could remember his name. It's like Basketball Rick or NBA Rick.
Haven't met him yet.
It's like a Rick and Morty thing. He just did a 2-part piece on is Scottie Pippen the 5th best player of the 90s? And I think ultimately I would decide no, or if he is, it's because we put that arbitrary 90s block, and so you lose part of Barkley's good times, and like you cut off Shaq's 2000, and like we can finagle it and get there. But just the respect of how good Scottie Pippen was. And he threw in a bunch of quotes of different players, quoting that he's the best all-around player of the league, best, you know, Oscar Robertson declared him better than Michael Jordan because he can play all around, which Oscar's a surly motherfucker and I love him for it, but um, I don't take it. But Larry Bird also is quoted, and he missed that Bird quote, but it's one of my favorite Pippen quotes, as saying, Pippen is a top 5 player in the league when he's next to Jordan, or just by himself. But when he's next to Jordan, he's the second best player in the league. And I think we kind of get blinded to how good Pippen was because he played with Jordan, but you don't get this many rings without him. And I think he contributes a lot more to 6 Chicago rings than Havlicek contributed to the 8 rings that he got with the Celtics.
I like it. In my Havlicek video, I do mention that despite the 8 rings, he really heavily contributes to about 4.5 of those, which is fair. He wins a ton of rings. He goes through his entire career from rookie to coming off the bench to star to like elite star to elder statesman to final season, and you see it all. And he's winning championships almost the entire time. And Pippen really is incredible for those 6 championships. He averages 19 points, 8 boards, and 6 assists in the finals, a perfect 6-0, playing 42 minutes per game. So he's really, really heavily relied on throughout those. His minutes go up in the finals as well. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
Perfect.
As much as like Havlicek when he retired played the most games ever, had most minutes ever, third in points all time, and was really incredible. But
oh yeah,
I get it. I get it.
All right, so then that gives us 30 Bob Cousy, 31 Pippen, 32 Havlicek, 33 Rick Barry, 34 Kawhi Leonard. I don't feel any desire to move him anywhere. I'm very comfortable with that.
No, I'm okay. I'm good. I'm good there.
35 Dolph Shays, going back old school. And then I did kind of want to redo our 36, 37, 38, which was Patrick Ewing, Isaiah Thomas, and David Robinson.
Okay, I'm interested. It's a funky group. It's a funky group.
It's a funky group, and we went contrary to consensus, and we put Ewing over Robinson. And I can show you the literature, the books, the writings that rank Ewing over Robinson up and through 1997. Then Robinson gets hurt, gets to play with Tim Duncan, and then magically is now a top 20 guy, whereas Ewing is somewhere in this 35 to 45 range usually. And while I buy it, I think Ewing has a better peak. I was forced to defend this argument a lot, and the more I had to defend it, the less I really liked defending it, because I do think, Robinson is not a superstar when he wins his titles. I mean, one of them, he is barely a player, but the 99 in finals, 99 playoffs, he is good outside of that Lakers series, and they probably don't win it without him being the second star on that team. And I do think we should just flip him and Patrick Ewing. I want to keep Isaiah Thomas in the middle of them, but I feel
I'll never agree to this.
what?
You couldn't in a million years. I've been arguing for this for the past like 6 months. And
I know, I have
I'm
too.
so dug in. Ewing was winning more at the same time. They playing at the exact same time. David Robinson wins like 4 playoff series. He's bad in the playoffs more times than he's good. It just isn't that great. And I think Ewing could have at the same time in 99 Ewing on one leg he could have won that title with Duncan. And come on, there's just no way. It's too short and it's not good enough. And
okay, so if we look at them over the course of their careers, Robinson is like 1 point and 1 rebound better. If we look at them over the course of their peaks, those 7-year peaks, Robinson is 1 point, 1 rebound better. If we look at their awards, Robinson is hands down better. And believe me, I've fought the same fight as you for a really long time. And I'm just not entirely sure that I'm as convinced of it. I think the East is a lot weaker if we look at their regular season records. Dave Robinson has a better regular season quite consistently. Ewing makes it further in the playoffs, but I do think he plays kind of weaker competition to get there a number of times. I mean,
Let me offer something in terms of competition. David
yeah,
Robinson lost 6 playoff series without Duncan. How many of those were to a lower seed?
a lot.
5 of them. So he has the higher seed. He's not
Yeah,
playing. It's not like
but
Jordan in the late 80s where he's like playing the 86 Celtics. And you're like, well,
some
they're
of those
playing like
are
the
the
40
2 seed
win.
losing to the 3 seed.
You're playing like the 40 win Warriors. Like, hey, David, can you go beat a team without a center? It's like, no. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Very cool.
Come on.
No,
You gotta.
it's 0. This is one thing I'll never go back on. I'm too dug in.
All right, he loses to Phoenix with Barkley. He loses to Utah with Malone.
Suns don't have a center. Jazz don't have a center.
So
They don't have a center. They don't have a center to guard
they've got
David
2 players
Robinson.
higher than him on this list.
They have 2. That's not true. That's not true. Well, Barkley and Malone are.
Yes, that's what I mean. Is
But
they're
Stockton is.
they both lose. He loses to 2 players. Not that each of these teams have
So if
2.
Barkley's going to the rim, and David Robinson's waiting there, right? That's a challenge. When David Robinson's going to the rim, who's waiting? Is it Chris? Is it what's
You act like he can get to the rim around Oliver Miller. That's 300 pounds comes in his way. He's not going nowhere.
I think there's just 0 evidence that David Robinson can be the best player on a team that means anything.
Just like, are we really impressed?
I'm that dug in. I really am.
Patrick Ewing beat Charlotte. He beat
That's important.
New Jersey.
I'm asking David Robinson to beat that Golden State team.
That's one team. And that's embarrassing. It's a 2-7 loss. It's a 2-7 loss. We just watched Giannis blow a 1-8. Yes, he's hurt. But these things happen.
This is the biggest indictment for me, is that it's that 94 season. He's like 30-10 with 5 assists on 50% shooting. And then it goes to it's Utah. And they fall to Utah, and he averages 20-10 on 40% shooting. He goes from really awesome to genuinely horrible, and he's getting stopped by David Benoit. You don't know who that is. No one knows who that is.
Sadly, he is the guy that they have before they get Greg Ostertag. I know David Benoit.
He's the worst. He's the worst version of Greg Ostertag, and it's like, all right, David, go get him. He's like, sorry, can't do it. I wish I could. At the same time, Karl Malone is like 30, is almost 30-10. 30-12 on 48% shooting, and it's like, it's on David Robinson to stop that guy.
94 team also has
Rodman,
right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Those
Great
guys aren't
defense
good enough.
there.
Okay, have we hashed it out, and you understand that I'm like up to my like neck in this?
Yeah, I think you're wrong.
Okay,
but I'll continue to fight this.
Okay, part of the beauty of the list.
I think at least bare minimum, they're the same player. They are the same fucking player, same relative success rates on their own. And anyone, if I have to see another list with David Robinson at 19 or 20, just stop making lists, people. Because I saw one of those lists earlier this week. I think it was yesterday. That was really sad. But, all right. So after those guys, that would be Patrick Ewing, 36, Isaiah Thomas, 37, David Robinson, 38. We have the glut of point guards, Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, Gary Payton. Couple of shooting guards, George Gervin, Allen Iverson. Quick stop into small forward lane at 40.
Any changes you want to make?
No.
I have one.
You got a change in here?
I do have one. I'm pulling someone from the mid 50s, and I think they should belong closer to Willis Reed at 47.
Okay.
Which is Dave Cowens.
Do you want to pull Cowens up from, what was he, 54 before this? Would be dropping down to 55 because we already jumped up Jokic?
Yes. No, he was 55. I have it written down as 55. Let me double check. It would be 50. Yeah, 54. 54. And I think right in front of Reed at 46. Um, now 47. I don't know. Now 48. The Cowan's argument in watching Jokic play basketball, and really I've been so into the casual superstar, the guy that just gets his points, makes sure the glass is clean, gets his teammates involved, plays good defense, and you win championships. I've just been so into that. Whether it's Duncan or someone like Magic for the offensive version of that, or Bill Russell. And I think a nice version of this is Cowan's. Cowan's for his career is 18 points, 14 boards, and 4 assists from 71 to 78. He's 19 points, 15 boards, 4 assists with a steal and a block. And he has these postseason runs where he's like 20 points and 1 second. Where he's like 20 points and 16 boards and 5 assists, and the Celtics win the championship. It's a weaker era. It's the 70s, but just the way he impacted basketball was really incredible.
Interesting. Because I feel like I don't entirely disagree with Collins over Willis Reed. Willis Reed, wins the 2 championships, but he's really only the key piece in one of them. And in that one, the key piece is him returning to the floor after being injured. I mean, they probably win it if he's healthy, and he probably is even more successful, but they still win it without him, or with him hurt, hobbling around. It's a great Dave DeBusschere game. I like it. I just kind of wonder if they might both be a bit high if we move them up to 46, 47, wherever.
The impact on winning is just there. And after that, it's Elvin Hayes, who has a
All
negative
right,
impact on winning.
talk,
Yeah.
you talked me into it. You don't
I
need
know.
to. Elvin Hayes is. I'm not going to argue that much. And you're right. After that, we kind of get into these elite superstars that don't win. We get or the like great number twos. You got coming up after them. Hal Greer, Elvin Hayes, Tracy McGrady, not necessarily that order. Dwight Howard, great superstar, doesn't win. John Stockton, great number 2, also doesn't win. But yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I can take Cowens. I remember you saying something earlier though about also wanting to move up um, Anthony Davis.
Mhm.
Where are your thoughts on Davis?
I ended up putting him at 50, 52 currently. 52 would be right ahead of Dwight Howard, but behind John Stockton.
I
How do you
can't
feel?
get him above Dwight Howard.
Okay. I felt like just this season was such a special defensive season. And he's given us a few of these now where Dwight really just has that one. He has the 4 defensive player of the years, but come playoff time, he's not that good on offense, where Davis is just tearing teams up. That's really
Yeah,
the case. I'm okay. Do you want to just do
I like him above Walt Frazier, behind Dwight Howard. My one thing
okay?
is that Dwight, you built a system around Dwight, and Dwight led a team to the finals. Um, yeah, 4 defensive player of the years is amazing, is awesome. But really it was the fact that he could be the focal point of a team. And yes, it's only one finals run, but really '08 to I want to say like 11, they're they're a top team in the East, and we never saw Davis do that on his own. And even this year, where he had some amazing games, he was also hurt a lot. And if they were able to get up into that 6th seed, they still have the same results. If they get up even higher to the 5, they you know play the Nuggets around earlier and lose. So I'm not going to hold it too much against them that the Lakers didn't go up. But the fact that he was hurt and the fact that he couldn't contribute at that high level to put them into a higher position. And they got kind of lucky. They got to play uh, a team that was falling apart, right, in Memphis, like self imploding in that first round. A normal 7 seed should have been able to take them out in the first round. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. And then Golden State didn't really have the size at all,
Yeah.
and they got swept. But I feel like Davis just doesn't have the body to be the number 1 option anymore at all. If he's gonna take that, like, just he's gonna be the focal point of a team's defense. He's gonna take so many hits. He just can't handle it. He just can't handle it. But I like him moving up a few spots.
Yeah, I think that's good. This was arguably his best season. I think to
Hmm.
get really inside that top 50, it's just such
Hmm.
a hard line to crack. But all right, so what does that put Davis at if he's right behind Dwight Howard, since you've got the updated numbers?
Um, I might be a little jumbled. I believe 54. But I actually have him at 53 because I forgot to mention somebody that I took from the back 40s and I moved down.
Okay.
I took Hal Greer from 47 and I moved him to 61. I don't know what the fuck we were thinking. I don't know what we were thinking. He's a really incredible, really good. Yeah, 10-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA. Give you a solid 19 and 5.
Leading scorer on the 67 team, that
Yeah,
wins the
he was,
title.
but it's like that
Leading scorer
team
in the
is like
finals.
Billy Cunningham and Wilt Chamberlain, like in pass mode, and he's like, "This is fucking awesome. I'm just gonna stand here and knock down shots." And there really just isn't any evidence of him. Like there isn't. I mean, he averages 20 points per game in the playoffs, and
Yeah, he's the second best guard from 63 to 69 behind Jerry West and Oscar Robertson,
so
both
he's
of whom we've already
the third.
ranked.
Yeah, we rank those guys, and yeah,
I How far down did you drop him?
61.
61. So you put him in like the Dame Lillard territory.
Yeah, I did. If that I felt that felt about right. Um, right around Dame, and I think that's just close. Ray Allen is. I think that's about what I feel.
Okay.
Does that
So
change? Does that change our shooting guard rankings at all?
it does change up our shooting guard because we got Tracy McGrady there behind him.
I thought we
But
agreed on. I thought we agreed to change that though, didn't we?
y- we might be able to get there.
Okay.
I just want to kind of read through the names, especially for the listeners, because while this
Mm.
is both an exercise for us, this is also a podcast, and now will be a YouTube thing for people to watch. Um, so with the changes, we put Dave Cowens up above Willis Reed, which now goes Dave Cowens, Willis Reed, Elvin Hayes, then it would be Hal Greer. I can get McGrady over him because I think McGrady has a higher peak of a player, doesn't contribute to winning as much, but fair. John Stockton, much greater longevity, doesn't ever win, but I'm willing to accept the longevity case. Then Dwight Howard, Anthony Davis, um, Dwight higher peak,
Walt Frazier at
Davis.
22, correct, or at 52?
I I don't know what the numbers are even at, but
But
it,
after Stockton, before sorry,
no, no,
Frazier
that
is
would be
after
another
Howard.
change.
It goes Stockton, Howard, Frazier, Davis, right?
Stockton, Howard, Davis, Frazier, based on the change that you just wanted to make.
I have Frazier ahead of Davis, and my.
Dude, you just want to put Davis above Howard. What are you doing, man?
That's
I
what we
said
agreed on.
no. I said I'd accept him
Okay, that's
behind
fine.
Howard, above
Okay,
Frazier.
maybe I typed that wrong.
All right. Then we get Westbrook. You sure you want him above Westbrook? Or you want him behind Westbrook?
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right. All right. I can get there with all of
Okay,
these things.
and then here's a good one, and just to make this more complicated, um, I had Joel Embiid at 55 behind Westbrook.
I was wondering when we were going to get to Joel Embiid. I had him at 60
Okay,
ish, just over Lillard.
you don't think he's better than Paul Pierce? Come on, I know I can talk you into this.
So you know my
I know I can.
distrust of Paul Pierce. Um, but I was struggling to get him over Artis Gilmore in just that while he has a higher peak, it's still just such a limited longevity and so much playoff disappointment. Pierce at least shows up in the playoffs enough for them to win a finals.
Hmm.
And Embiid, I think he's got the talent to be over Pierce. I think he's got the talent
He's
to probably,
MVP. Has
yeah.
Pierce ever been top 5 in MVP voting?
Oh, absolutely not. But
Not even
has
close.
but neither has Jimmy Butler, and I think we walked out of this season,
Yeah, no, of
probably more
course.
enamored with Butler.
But I think Butler is like dragged your team to the finals kind of good, where Pierce is like pretty good. He's pretty good. I think if Embiid is falling from MVP level to Paul Pierce level, and that's a huge disappointment.
Well, he's fallen to career Paul Pierce level
Yeah.
when he's only halfway through his career.
Yeah.
The one half of his career we say is about equivalent to where Pierce ended his career. It's
Yeah.
a bit high, although I think we also need to look at Weber and possibly moving Weber down a bit.
Okay. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Can we put him in just behind Artis Gilmore? He'll continue to rise as things go on. I'm just not ready for him to be that high yet until we have him accomplish anything.
All right.
Can he win 2 playoff series?
Can we say Embiid's better than Gilmore? Is that what we agreed to?
I
I
was going
can't.
right behind Gilmore.
Can we do in front?
I can do in front.
Okay.
I'll compromise with you to put him in front.
All right. That sounds great.
We talk about re-ranking Chris Webber.
Sure.
I would like to move him back behind Ray Allen.
Wow.
It's a nosedive.
It
For
is a nosedive.
those listening, we now would go. Well, let me just start back at. Well, oof, it's a mess here. In this order, we have Tracy McGrady, John Stockton, Dwight Howard, Anthony Davis, Walt Frazier, Russell Westbrook, moving down Chris Webber from where he was at 56 to an undetermined spot. Paul Pierce, Paul Arzon, Bob McAdoo, Artis Gilmore, Joel Embiid. I would like to bump Chris Webber down, I think right behind Ray Allen. So we would
I
go
can't get there.
Gilmore,
I'm okay
Lillard.
with moving him down a bit, but Chris Webber is fucking awesome and is really good. And was good. It was as good as like Duncan and KG and Dirk for a really brief moment. He was first team All NBA and was it doesn't have the insane playoff resume, but at this point, it's what's the difference in him and Embiid? Um,
Well, that's I think where I'm getting at is what's the difference between him and Embiid? And I think there's not much of a difference, and so
let me pull
bump
up
him
something
down
real quick.
to that Embiid range. Sorry to video listeners. We do this sometimes. We normally edit out for the podcast, but while I order these guys.
All right, I got it. The 2002 finals that were rigged, or conference finals that were rigged. Weber is 24 points, 11 boards, 6 assists on 51% shooting, and against the refs and Shaq averaging like 30 and 14 takes him to 7. And this is a conference finals, mind you. This is a conference finals that Embiid has yet to make. Also, 2003 versus Dallas against Dirk, 27.6 boards, 5 assists. Those are against really good competition where I feel like Embiid, either he's playing the Nets and it's like Hulk smash against Nick Claxton, or it's not a good series. I feel like Weber's given us more than that.
Would you take moving him down from where we had him, which is above Paul Pierce,
Mhm.
and maybe just putting him like above Bob McAdoo?
Yeah, that's all right. Honestly, the big case against him, and I was going to make a small case, not so much of a case, but the 2002 Kings, that he doesn't start the season with them. He's hurt, and they still are like 20-5 without him. Um, I
That's
think
the
that he
awesome
gave,
Asia year.
yeah, he gives them the championship ability, but they still were able to play really high level basketball without him.
Yeah. Well, like he orchestrates a good team. He is the kind of a de facto point guard in many senses of how he plays, even though is the power forward, but the offense kind of runs through him, and he can pass incredibly well for
So
being
let's
a
yeah.
forward.
So let's revisit Hal Greer.
Okay.
We had
Hal
him
Greer
at 47, and now where? I'm there at 61, although I do have another name at 60 that's moving up.
is that Jimmy Butler?
No, but it can be. It can be.
Okay, who's your name that's moving up? Is it Lillard?
It's kind of insane. I think Nate, I think we were too harsh on Bill Walton.
No.
I think we were. He was at 80 and he's got to be higher than that. I wanted to go shoot for the stars just to let you know where I'm going with this, but someone that was just so fucking awesome, because that 77 season, there's no everyone's good because they're ABA teams or NBA teams. There's no like tanking teams. All the talent's there, and he just mashes them in a really special way. In this Jokic Dave Cowens way, that was awesome passing and just crazy defense. Although Jokic doesn't have that, but I think it's a really special kind of winning that resulted in the championship. But even the next season's an MVP. He doesn't finish that season due to injury, but that's a 2-season stretch I'm just really into, and I think it's way more special than it won a title. We always talk about like what gives you the best chance of winning a championship. Is it 2 seasons of Walden or 8 seasons of Paul George? And at this point, we have the answer. I'm willing not to go all the way to that and say he's as good as anyone who's won a championship, but he's got to be better than he's got to be better than some of these guys today. He just is.
I'm not. Well,
I can convince you a little, but 80 was too harsh.
80 is
I'm okay with
harsh.
Butler over him, but I think Butler should be over him. But I think like Ray Allen, you could have 100 years of Ray Allen. You're never winning a title.
I mean, Ray Allen did win titles though. He just
As the third guy. Like
yeah.
I think Bill Walton should be ahead of anyone who was never in the MVP conversation once ever in their life, or ever good enough to win a championship as the best player ever once in their life.
I mean that puts him. Fuck, that still puts him above Joel Embiid.
No, but
That
Embiid won an MVP. He won an MVP, and that's
yeah.
part of it. Like,
All right. I mean that puts him with Embiid right there.
so we thinking 60, 60?
It's just so brief
I know it's
because
brief, but I
like
mean, let's just to make you feel better. Like Bill Simmons has him like fucking 20th.
no, I mean people have him in insane
So
rankings.
I think we
That's
are being harsh enough.
he in my writers polls that I use for the Matrix. His average ranking is 49th.
See, we're already so mean. We're already so mean.
Okay, can you read me what you have for 50
Sure.
to 60 right now?
John Stockton, Dwight Howard, Anthony Davis, Walt Frazier, Russell Westbrook, Paul Pierce, Paul Arizin, Chris Webber, Bob McAdoo, Damian Lillard, and Bill Walton.
All right, what was after Paul Arizin?
Chris Webber, Bob McAdoo, Dame, and then Bill. You're into it.
I'm kind of into it. McAdoo, Embiid, and then Bill Walton.
McAdoo. I'm sorry, you cut out for a second.
You had McAdoo at 58.
And then Dame at 59.
Dame jumping
I
up to 59.
I didn't change that. That's just how it was. Oh, did I?
You changed that. You changed
Did
that.
I? I
I'm
did
okay with
change
it.
that. I
I'm
did
okay with the
change that.
Dame
Okay.
jump.
Yeah. I think
I think it's
he
good.
passed Artis Gilmore. Okay.
Yeah. And then you're continuing just free fall Hal Greer. I just can't get there. It's so brief. I understand. He does the thing
He does
that
the thing. It's a
he
really insane thing that no one else has ever done. It's a block title and a rebounding title, and he's like the best passing big in the league. That 77 run, it's 40 minutes a game, 50% shooting, 18 points, 15 boards, 5.5 assists, 3.5 blocks. No one else has ever done that. No one else is that kind of player where it's this passing and this defense. It's him and Bill Russell, and we fucking love Bill Russell. This is like
I
one season of Bill Russell.
yes, one season of Bill Russell.
2 seasons. But if
No,
Russell's number,
because he gets hurt and he
yeah,
misses
but
the whole playoffs.
we like this kind of player though. We
It's
gotta stay true to our. We like Cowens, we like
sure.
Russell, we like Walden. These centers that are able to impact the game. Because what is Embiid? Embiid isn't that great of a defensive player. Gets hurt all the fucking time, which is also Walden's issue. Isn't a good passer, and Walden has that. You'd rather have
No, it's a
the awesome
defensive
passing and the insane defense over an extra 10 points a game.
Jokic with Embiid's injury trouble
Yeah,
who
it's
plays like
this is
300
great.
meaningful he doesn't play 300 meaningful games. How
He
many
does
meaningful
it. He does it.
like it just if
He's
we're
still
forced to
good.
compare. Oh, he's amazing.
He's good in 75 and 76, although I think if he had played the right games, because I think he plays like the back end of those games and those Portland teams aren't great. Like what if he was a 4-time All-Star and you're like, okay.
Yeah, I can't I get it. He's a two-time All-Star and that's basically two MVPs. It's an MVP in his second place, his finish. But
60.
it's so it's like 150 meaningful games in
I
his
know, but it's
career.
all we ever wanted. It's all we ever wanted.
No,
Um,
do you remember your argument against him?
it's so brief.
It's so brief, but also what this does to your team and your
Yeah,
franchise,
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
and
And that was
it
dumb. I
rips
was
you
being
apart.
a
It's
in the
the same
finals. He
reason why
was
we
19 points and 19 boards, with 5 assists.
it's the same reason why we hold back Kawhi because
Yeah.
Kawhi, while he has the amazing 2019 run, I mean, he's the Clippers have been in limbo. They've taken themselves out of having a chance.
Hmm.
The chance that you have for having this player is it goes away because of his injury history.
Hmm. But Kawhi's at like 35. And Walton, I'm asking for 60.
I will give you
He can't be behind Artis Gilmore. I just refuse. But can we move Artis Gilmore so because I can get over that? Because I could be like, okay, the George McGinnis, Ray Allen, like I could see it, but something that Artis Gilmore pisses me off.
the best defensive center for the 70s,
He's
the
like Rudy Gobert. He's
11-time
like Rudy
All-Star.
Gobert of the 70s.
Come on.
I know.
Come on.
I'm being mean.
You
I
are.
don't think there's a
You're
universe.
angry. I understand. You don't want to be here, but it's too brief. I can no, I really I can't move him up too much. Um I'll
Artis
move him
is
over.
27 when he joins the NBA. Like he still was really good, and he's not as good as Walton that season. He's not close to as good as Walton that season.
Not as good as Walton that season. But you want to talk about who's better 78 through 83? Like
He
like
wasn't
what
better than him in 78. He wasn't better than him in 78 when MVP that year.
sure.
No.
Sure, but if we want to look at the
Okay, so
conglomerate,
where would
the
you like to
whole
put
of
it?
their careers. Um well, so man, I don't want to move away and then come back to him. Um
Can we do 60 right behind McGinnis and above Spencer Haywood?
I think that's a good spot.
All
That's
right.
that's about as high as I'd be willing to go, and I'll probably fight you again on him next year, or to move him down. Um, but just because we spent so much time talking about him, I'm willing to let this go.
Can we give 30 seconds each on Dame moving up 2 spots? Or 1 spot, or whatever the hell? Ahead of Artis Gilmore. This is a really good Dame year in terms of. I think he was killed by the Blazers and what they were trying to do, which is I don't think they knew what they were trying to do, but they were trying to make the playoffs and then they decided to tank at the end and he ended up getting hurt, but he had a
S-
70-point game.
So I hate to tell you this, I don't actually want to move Dame up that much.
It's 1 spot.
Well, so it's
It's
actually
1
kind of
spot.
back.
It's
I,
one.
I hate to tell you this, it's actually back a few spots. Because right after Bob McAdoo, I would like to put Jimmy Butler. I would like to go Butler, Embiid, and then Lillard.
Wow.
Because as good of a year as this is this if this year is our justification to move Dame Lillard up that high?
It's 1 spot. Okay.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
but it's
so
you
you're
know
telling me Butler's better than Dame.
I'm telling you, Butler has led two teams to finals. I mean, the same team both times, Miami Heat, but like he's made two finals. He is a playoff player. I'm telling you, I'd rather have of him in an all-time perspective. You can write the history of the NBA without Damian Lillard. You cannot write it without Jimmy Butler at this point.
I hate that argument. You know I hate that argument.
I,
I'll
it's
write my
it's an
own.
argument.
I'll write my own fucking book just about Steve Novak and tell you, oh, you can't write on Steve Novak. Write whatever book I want.
I'm just saying, Butler's impact on the league and in its history it is felt in a way that I don't think Dame's is. And
Okay.
I'm not so much interested in the different teammates argument because Jimmy does this with second round, you know, the undrafted scrubs. You can say that Bam Adebayo is better than anyone that Lillard's ever been paired with, and that's probably true outside of LaMarcus Aldridge. No one since
Okay.
LaMarcus Aldridge.
So we're gonna do Weber, McAdoo, Butler, Dame, Embiid, Hal Greer.
You want Dame over Embiid?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you okay with that? Did you that what you had?
I'm okay with that. I was gonna
All right.
go Embiid over Lillard. Um, but I can take it either way. Embiid is going to continue to rise, so I'm more concerned about trying to get the ballpark right for Embiid.
I think that's right. I think it's an MVP season with playoff disappointments is about equal to. It's worse, but close to equal to what Jimmy Butler's done. Here's a fun notification. It says James Harden returning to Sixers on team-friendly contract increasingly likely, per sources. Interesting.
How friendly?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. So then I'm just gonna read now. So we got Lillard 60, Embiid 61, Hal Greer 62, Artis Gilmore 63, Ray Allen 64, Alex English 65, George McGinnis 66, Bill Walton 67,
Mm-hmm.
Spencer Haywood, Paul George, Mel Daniels. Any changes in there that you want to make?
No, but I do have a change coming up.
Okay, intriguing. 71 would be Carmelo Anthony. 72, Tiny Archibald. Stop me when you get a change.
Did you? Oh,
How,
wait, I had Paul George at 71. I don't think I changed that.
um,
Yeah, it was always Archibald, George, Anthony. Did you
was
read that
it?
right?
I don't think it
Yeah,
was always
I
Archibald.
have the original. It's because Mel Daniels, Tiny Archibald, Paul George, Carmelo Anthony.
Huh.
You said
Okay.
Archibald, then you just didn't say Paul George at all.
Oh, I'm shifting around all of the numbers and then like re-ranking this as it goes. So, all right, went Mel, then Tiny, then Paul George. All right.
So
What happens when I
so
try to do this on the fly?
So 72 be Carmelo, but then 73, my nomination's Jason Tatum. He previously was 82. He'd be jumping, passing up Nate Thurmond, I think. Let me see. Passing Nate Thurmond, Joel Embiid now. Nate Thurmond. At the time, it was Thurmond, Walden, Butler, Embiid, Issel, Parrish, Neil Johnston, Grant Hill, Billy Cunningham, Kevin McHale, Sam Jones, and Pau Gasol. Some of those guys have moved up past that. I think right in front of Pau, right behind Carmelo, feels good. This was a good Embiid year. Or, sorry, this was a good Tatum year. It was a rough Heat series in terms of vibes, but he was still 25 points and 10 boards and 5 assists. Really, that was a Jaylen Brown problem. He was 29, 11, and 5 against Philly and had the fucking incredible Game 7 Philly performance. He averaged like 30 a night the entire regular season. Yeah, 30 a night, and it's an elite year, and I think it deserves that respect.
I was gonna put him up above Sam Jones, which I think is just a few spots behind you.
It's just one spot.
So
the difference is Pau Gasol.
and I think that's fair, because you know I have an unbridled love for Pau for what he brought to LA. That the defense, the rebounding, everything that he could do to win those championships. But I think you're right. I think Tatum has shown that if you have him on your team, you're an Eastern Conference Finals team. And I think that's fair to put him over Pau.
All right. Easy going. So with that, I don't have a change until 79. What is 79 now? But we do have a new new number 75. Previously, it was Neil Johnston. Now, Sam Jones.
Neil Johnston has fallen. More we keep bumping people up over him.
He has. He's now at 79, but I would like to move him back to 80. I remember when we made this list. We said Neil Johnston, and then the next center was Robert Parrish, and you were like, "Oh man, I really wish we could have stuck Parrish in there." And I agree. You want to just flip those two?
Yes, but I do need to just get some of my numbers correct here.
Go ahead.
Mel Daniels is 69.
Mm-hmm.
Carmelo is 70.
Tiny is 70.
Tiny is 70.
And then Paul George, Carmelo, Jason Tatum, Pau Gasol.
There we go.
Sam Jones. Got it all?
Got it lined up now. Sam Jones, Kevin McHale, Billy Cunningham, Grant Hill, Neil Johnston, Robert Parrish, and Robert and Neil are flipping. Yeah.
Then Dennis, Nate Thurmond, Bernard King, Sidney Moncrief, Wes Unseld, Kevin Johnson, Reggie Miller, and then Luka Doncic at 88. We decided last podcast. Any issues with that? Any changes you want to make?
So I'm sorry. It was Unseld, Kevin Johnson, and then Luka Doncic.
Then Reggie Miller, then Luka Doncic.
But so I still want Reggie over Luka.
I do.
I think that's fair. I think at this point, Reggie is significantly longer success, nowhere near the peak. There's never a conversation of Reggie should be MVP. Reggie picks up 3 MVP votes in his entire career. And Luka, while he has not yet cracked the top 3 of MVP, I think we all see that potential. We all see that impact. This is a bad Luka year. I really kind of thought he was going to move up even higher.
He's next year's MVP. No, it's okay. I'll figure out next year. Dude, he's running upstairs in Slovenia. He's in shape. He's got abs now. He stopped chain smoking.
Yeah.
And he's going to stop bitching to the refs. This was an all-time bad vibes season. I made a video about DeMarcus Cousins yesterday, just in saying that he lost his cool all the time. As talented as he was, people forget that he was just like, that call sucked. I'm going to take the next 3 possessions and just prove to the ref that I'm better than whatever this is. And it cost the Kings wins. Now, Luka wasn't the problem, but he certainly didn't help. He was terrible on defense, and his attitude is horrible. Watching him was like, oh, is this it? Is he going to miss this possession because he's complaining to the refs. He missed that possession. Like the amount of times he just wouldn't get back or wouldn't get into it, and frustration fouls, bad shots, trying to prove something instead of just like, all right, whatever, fuck it. It sucked. It was not fun. Not fun for anybody.
No. But if we have to compare him versus David Thompson, who David Thompson was that spot right behind Reggie Miller. David Thompson also had a brief career. David Thompson was an amazing high-flying player. He was Michael Jordan's idol. But 4 seasons and out. I mean, not out, but 4 seasons and then no longer effective.
So it's very comparable to Luka. Luka given the era, comparable. And he was better relative to Thompson. Then the last thing we had was we went Tim Hardaway, Alonzo Mourning, Kyrie, Tony Parker. Then we added number 94, Cliff Hagan. Then Chauncey Billups, Marcus Johnson, Vince Carter, Devin Booker. We also added Amari Stoudemire, Blake Griffin. That's it. That's a full top 100.
How do you feel about maybe moving Booker up a little bit?
To where?
I would be kind of interested in him. I want him closer to Luka. I kind of want him over Kyrie Irving. What do you feel about him in that Kyrie Irving?
That's insanity.
So, I mean, Kyrie Irving, the best thing he ever did was be the number 2 to LeBron James in that finals. And really the rest of the playoffs, the rest of that run, Kyrie is not that impactful. I offer you Booker's series against the Nuggets versus Kyrie's finals. Booker, that's a better series. Yes, it's second round. Yes, they lose. But like that is a higher impact for Booker. Booker also was arguably the best player to take a team to the finals. Booker's doing more. It's not like Kyrie has this amazing long resume. He's got really one good finals and then a lot of team destruction.
It's an 8-time All-Star, 8-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA versus a 3-time All-Star, 1-time All-NBA. I get that. I don't see it quite yet. And we see that 2016 run. I know that's all he has, but like that's one of the best playoff series ever played. In the finals and the fourth for the 3-1 comeback. It's not just like I think there's no way I'm saying that Booker this year versus the Nuggets was better than Kyrie versus the Warriors.
No, can we at least get him all right, maybe right behind Kyrie, above Tony Parker? Because Tony Parker's finals MVP is hot garbage. It's we're sweeping the Cavs so badly that we can rest Duncan. Duncan is the best player of the entire regular season. He's the best player throughout the first 3 rounds of the playoffs. This is like we're just gonna give Kyrie or give Tony Parker a fun.
Okay, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. If not, then I'm definitely fighting for him over Chauncey Billups.
Let me just double check. So let me just make sure the vibes are right on this.
You check your vibes.
Yeah. I'll do it. Whatever, I'll do it. Okay, that's it. I actually have one more change I want to make. It's in the 150s. Can we move JoJo White 1 spot above Willie Wise?
Guys, they haven't heard the 150s yet. We recorded them yesterday.
I'm just answer the question. Just answer the question.
JoJo White above Willie Wise? Yes.
All right, done. All right, we did it.
A 7-page paper on why.
Because the vibes are better.
That's totally fair. Willie Wise was not that well loved in the ABA. Good player, good statistical performer, but yeah, you want to say vibes are off? I'll take vibes are off. Would you mind reading 90 through 100 now? That
please.
Actually, would you mind doing 80 through 90, and then I'll take.
Sure. Right. So 80, Neil Johnston, then Dan Issel, Nate Thurmond, Bernard King, Sidney Moncrief, Wes Unseld, Kevin Johnson, Reggie Miller, Luka Doncic, David Thompson, and Tim Hardaway.
Up after Tim Hardaway, we have Alonzo Mourning, Kyrie Irving, Devin Booker, Tony Parker, Chauncey Billups, Cliff Hagan?
Hagan's
above Hagan Billups. Or Johnston? Hagan's above
It's Tony, Booker, Parker, Hagan, Billups.
All right. Parker, Booker, Hagen, Billups, Marquise Johnson, Vince Carter, Amari Stoudemire, and then Blake Griffin as Mr. 100.
So you have Parker and then Hagen, correct?
Uh,
I have Kyrie, Booker, then Parker. I thought you wanted
Kyrie,
Booker over Parker.
yes, Kyrie Booker
Okay.
then.
All right. Can I make
You
one more
know,
change?
yes.
Can we flip Alonzo Mourning and Tim Hardaway?
Interesting.
I think
I
Alonzo
don't.
Mourning was Mourning was like the MVP candidate on the Heat, and is also good in Charlotte. And I think they were just better. I think Mourning was just better when he played.
I'm gonna push back on that because Tim Hardaway, prior to his injuries with Golden State, he is All NBA first team. I want to say no, he's second team, but he's second team behind Magic and John Stockton.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
get it.
Morning.
Well, Alonzo Mourning almost won MVP in 1989.
Yeah, but that's the weird fluky season.
Okay, all right, that's fine. I won't get too much into it. All right, we did it. How do you feel?
I feel like I want to push back more on on Bill Walton and bump him back a few spots.
No, come back next season. Sorry, it's closed. We can't change it.
All right, it's closed. We're gonna go ahead and put this one up, and then for you listeners, go check this out on YouTube if you want to see our facial reactions and whatnot as we talk through this. We're also going to be releasing 101 through 200 in the coming weeks,
That's true.
coming
This is
days.
true.
I might drop them all at once. I might take a vacation.
You should.
Aaron, where can the people find you?
Gospel Chairs on TikTok.
You can find me at Hoops Temple.
All right, we did it. Oh.